Chris, I was curious though, like, did you have any apprehension making it? Because I mean, I think people are rightfully protective of the Mexican American, like Chicano community.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always skeptical of when I see something that I think I relate to, kind of being like, did they get it right? I think my concern was not necessarily thinking about how am I being representative to a community, but I was more concerned about how I was being authentic to my own life. You know, the neighborhood I grew up in, the people I knew and stuff like that. So it became much more narrow, thinking about, let me be authentic to my life.
Well, and Fred, what made you want to get involved with this project?
First and foremost, Chris's voice as a comedian, the way he sees things. When I think of Los Angeles, and I love Los Angeles, I want to know more. I'm like, what else is there? Other than what I've seen before, how deep does it go? How many different types of personalities are there? Where is like the rest of the, like, sort of a sense of humor? And that's what when they presented it to me, that's exactly what it was. I was like, yeah, I want to know more.
I probably identify as a punk ass bitch because everybody calls me güero. I don't speak Spanish, and I like that you're representing. It's not all gangbangers in like South Central. How did you introduce that like comedic effect?
You know, I was just kind of thinking about it, like the punk ass bitch thing is just a joke in the show, but I wouldn't say it's the thesis behind it. I would say that there's a way to people who don't live in worlds like this to think of the men who make up this world as either gangsters or wimps. Julio's in the middle. He's just a regular dude with like existential dread. Finding a way to make that funny and make it, funny and relatable and interesting and whatnot.
Where did the inspiration there's all these elements of like different genres that I've been catching. I mean, it's impressive, the different camera angles. Where did that come for you?
A lot of it, I think, for the showrunners who are Jake Weissman, Matt Ingebrigtsen, and Pat Bishop, and for Fred, who's an EP, we're all film buffs, and we all really love film. And I think it's important for us to present comedies to look cinematic. I think a lot of people think of comedies as just laughs, but I think we all love film, and we wanted to present it cinematically. But we were really inspired by the Coen Brothers. A big inspiration to this show was the film Serious Man by the Coen Brothers. That was a big inspiration. And yeah, a lot of it just came from the films we love and wanting to present that cinematically.
Fred, what do you think you were able to bring to the project? You said to yourself that you aren't familiar with this community in LA.
For me, it was more about the comedy. So, it already was in great shape, but I just like adding in like more absurdist ideas that almost seem not connected to it, that element of it. That's sort of, I guess I'll call it the weird element. And then also just like authenticity as far as accents. I was like, for some reason I had this obsession where I was like, I want it, my hope is that it really does sound like what people in Los Angeles and South Central LA would sound like. Just so that it isn't just generic accents.
It is representative of what it's like in those areas. And I'm curious if you guys are gonna have any more references to, LA, there's like King Taco and stuff. I think those are the things I was excited, like seeing what streets you guys were on.
A lot of it just came from being in LA and growing up, being in neighborhoods like Inglewood, South Central, Compton. Those are the neighborhoods I'm more familiar with, kind of the neighborhoods south of the 10. So a lot of that just came from being a show about Los Angeles without being heavy-handed. I think a lot of times just showing it in a very organic way where people aren't announcing where they're at, but just letting them live there. And I think that's the way to sort of do it. I mean, I know when I was growing up, I wasn't constantly letting everybody know where I'm at. This is my life, this is who I am, and letting it just sit very organically and not making a huge statement about it, I think is great, but just looking at people's lives through a lens of like, what are their lives like? Do they have existential dread? Are they working class? Stuff like that.
Well, and I loved, Chris, that you guys have the whole Thugs Not Hugs and the discussion of prison reform, but it's very subtle. Why was that important to you?
From a narrative standpoint, I thought it would be really interesting to give this guy Julio a job where Julio's kind of a guy who's stuck in existential dread, and he's kind of this guy who's kind of stuck and doesn't know how to change elements of his life. Narratively, it was really funny and interesting to put him in a place where he's helping people change their lives, but not helping himself. Also, it just came from, I grew up around gang members. I have family members who were gang members. So I always just thought You know, what's a little more interesting to me is seeing people trying to change their lives. I think that's just a little more nuanced and interesting and whatnot. I think we've kind of seen them do gang member stuff already, but if you're kind of, nobody has more conviction and passion than somebody who's trying to change their lives.